So my recent piece on that little meme I had found shared to a Facebook group that mocks such idiocy, it's getting a bit of traction, not so much in the views department, but certainly in the comments. And shout out to the comrade in the chat, I forget your account name offhand, who's been spreading the truth and and replying to all these idiots popping up. I was trying to clock out from work today. It's like, okay, weekend's starting, everything's gonna be good, and I get this comment. Now, it was originally in, I think, probably Polish. I'm not 100%. So, granted, this guy being from there um, is going to have a little bit of a bias against the Soviet Union due to the nature of the way things actually were, which, as I stress in the original video, and stress any time Soviet Union's brought up, is a direct side effect of the fact that the nation was basically fighting an internal war with itself that it had been fighting since the late 19 teens and early 1920s that was cemented by Stalin and his reign of terror for over 20 years across the nation. Um, yeah, actually, it's more like 30 years, but that's neither here nor there. Here we have the usual case of somebody, and others have done this too, as well as bringing up Cuba and Venezuela, because of course they have to bring up countries being embargoed to oblivion. Basically trying to say, oh, well, the Nazis had socialists in their name, so they were socialist too. Even though National Socialism in no way, shape, or form has anything to do with the socialism that anyone else, except for you idiots, is trying to talk about. Um, I responded, I don't know, because he ended it with, what don't you understand? I responded, I don't know. What don't you idiots understand that socialism in the Nazi Party name was a ploy to get more attention during the era where socialist movements were on the rise, and thus only a deception tactic that has absolutely nothing to do with their actual principles, which were very obviously on the far right. Now, that's not an entirely accurate statement, but I was doing this off the cuff, dictated as a comment, mind you, so my phone butchered a few things and I had to go back and fix some stuff. Um, but it's a very complicated subject, as are most things in history, and doesn't boil down to just a name. To which is where I go here. Names don't define what things actually are, and every time you morons bring up that in a group, I should be that up in a group, you show you neither know history, nor politics, nor basic logic on how anything works. Because here's the thing. By that kind of logic, let me double check real quick. The recording's in good shape. It is. Um, Since China's official national name is the People's Republic of China, oh, it's a republic of the people. Ooh, the right wing in America is all about this whole republic thing. You want a republic, not a democracy. Well, there you go. China's A-OK. They can't be, there's nothing wrong with China, right? Huh? Right? China's great. China's perfect, right? See, they're a republic. It's right there in their motherfucking name. Republic. Republic. Do I need to zoom in? Do I need to trigger the zoom function in Windows? I don't know how the fuck to do it. If this was a Macintosh, I could just zoom and be right there. Or how about North Korea? Ooh, big scary North Korea. Oh, they're okay. They're the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. So see, instead of the Republic of Korea that the South is, oh no. They're the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. They're democratic and they're a republic of the people. Oh man, they're doing everything right. Yep, good old North Korea. Their name's Democratic People Republic of Korea, so no oppression, no authoritarianism, no worship state, no mono a single party system with illusionary parties that are really just subsets of the main party. No famine, no forced labor camps, nothing of the sort. Oh no. Absolute fucking paradise. Because it's in the name, Democratic People's Republic of Korea. How could you not love that? Or maybe, just maybe, names don't actually mean shit, and they can and oftentimes are used as ploys. And you want to know, I'm sure a lot of the smarter of you will have noticed this in these examples, but you'll notice that I picked an ostensibly quote unquote communist nation and a definitively socialist leaning one with their own ethnic variations put in to do this, to be this example, especially in the case of the DPRK with Juche and Songun philosophies. Um, and yes, China has opened up its market, but that's because it's smart in playing the world market as you should. Private industry and the way it relates to the state is still a very interesting subject in the People's Republic of China. One I am not well versed enough to go into here. Uh, I should sometime, but that's gonna be when I have the spare time from other things. Which leads to me going on and asking for a quick summary from our old friend ChatGPT. And yes, I know somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, you're just looking for ChatGPT for using it as a source." Nah, I got receipts. This conversation goes on, buddy. Socialism is an economic and political philosophy that advocates for collective or public ownership of the means of production, factory resources, etc., and an economy oriented towards meeting social needs rather than private profit. It's generally internationalist in nature, meaning it emphasizes solidarity among all workers regardless of nationality, ethnicity, or religion. And that is all that me being a socialist means. How can you object to that? The needs of the people being met. We have the resources. They must be divided properly. What part of that can you idiots not get? But we go to National Socialism, Nazism. Thank you, ChatGPT, for specifying that. Despite the name, is not a form of socialism in practice. It was an ultra-nationalist, racist, and authoritarian ideology led by Adolf Hitler in Germany. While it used socialist-sounding language to appeal to workers, it rejected actual socialist principles like class equality and public ownership. Instead, it supported private property, corporate interests, as long as they served the state, and pursued ethnic purity and expansionism. Now, some of you might sit there and be like, well, wait, didn't the Soviet Union, wasn't everything supposed to serve the state? And it's like, that was one of the problems with the way the Soviet Union was actually operated, again, as a side effect of Stalin, where his rapid industrialization had a slight side effect of primarily being done to serve him, his whims, his view of how things should explicitly go in the nation without regard necessarily to others. This is the problem of when you have central rule, something that needs to be mitigated because the people who can conduct the revolution are not the ones you need running things after the revolution has completed. It's two different mentalities going on that both serve their purpose in a certain role, but are completely detrimental in the opposite role. More on that down the line if my lovely audience wants me to start going into my own socio-political theories. Again, theory is a working model of things, you know. Y'all don't understand this stuff. We're talking to people with room temperature IQs here, leaving comments on my videos with stuff like that. But I proceeded to go down and continue to ask for varying sources and check those out, get additional ones. Some seemed a little light on stuff. Some were a little more harsh on stuff. Um, but we got primarily one on the coming of the Third Reich. Was is cited to be a pretty impressive piece, and another one that was really good early on. There's the coming of the Third Reich, which is a pretty big paper. We're at 800, 900 pages for you to read if you would like to. Ooh, a map. Because that's what these things actually are, is it isn't just, oh, look, the name is kind of or is the same, so they must be the same. It's potentially literally thousands of pages of text written based on years to decades of personal research on top of the research that being the aggregate of other people's research, mind you, in a lot of cases. A lot of that being that information pulled together, standing on the shoulders of giants and whatnot for people to, let me check the recording. Yep, we're still good. For people to figure out what all is, going on here, what the truth actually is. But if you want a simplified piece on this, There is this one on Britannica of Were the Nazis Socialist? We'll summarize, but I'll leave a link down below as to the main paper as well. Um, were the Nazi socialists? No, no, not in any meaningful way, and certainly not after 1934. But to address this canard fully, one must begin with the birth of the party, and again, you go through piece by piece on this, a nice summary. And now, if you don't trust Encyclopedia Britannica or our piece written on it by a contributor, that's fine. But you start going into the classic. Well, all this and that is just biased. It's like no, no. These are people stating facts that you just don't like, and explaining things and providing actual information. Um, Here's where things get good. Hitler allied himself to the leaders of German conservative and nationalist movements, and in January 33, German President Paul von Hindenburg appointed him chancellor. Hitler's Third Reich had been born, and it was entirely fascist in character. Within 2 months, Hitler achieved full dictatorial power through the Enabling Act. For those of you not educated, there was an operation where the Reichstag was burned by some quote unquote random communist, if memory serves. And if Hitler was made chancellor in January 30th of 1933, this is by the end of March, beginning of April. April 1933, communists, socialists, Democrats, and Jews were purged from German civil service, and trade unions were outlawed the following month. That July, Hitler banned all political parties other than his own, and prominent members of the German Communist Party and the Social Democratic Party were arrested and imprisoned in concentration camps. Lest there be any remaining questions about the political character of the Nazi Revolution, Hitler ordered the murder of Gregor Strasser, an act that was carried out June 30th, 1934 during Night of the Long Knives. Gregor Strasser being, who was he? I have forgotten at this stage. We are going to double check here real quick. Was a German politician or leader in the Nazi Party, along with his younger brother Otto. He was leading member of the party's left-wing faction, which brought them into conflict with the dominant faction led by Adolf Hitler, resulting in Gregor's murder in 1934. The brother strand of the Nazi ideology is known as Strasserism. Well, that is a fascinating subject to go down. And look, it refers to a dissonant far-right ideology based on Nazism. So he simultaneously is the left-wing faction of this, but is still on the right. Incidentally, very similar to the Democratic Party here in the United States, where it's vilified by the actual right as the left, when really it's just less right than the right wing. And fascism is, of course, always right, as in right wing, because the thing this person doesn't understand, and the thing everyone brings up, it isn't about the names. I've already stressed that the names don't matter. It is about what is actually done. And yes, the Soviet Union was ran as an authoritarian state, with the standard paranoia and internal suspicions that cause a nation to become a less than fun place in a lot of ways. But there were a lot of things that went right in the Soviet Union during the 60s, 50s to late 50s through to the 60s and up to the 70s. There was an incredible boom of prosperity in North Korea as opposed to the South, which ironically was going through a time of its own socialist leader, I might add, a very interesting period in Korean history that I was researching before a lot of stuff happened a few years back. I need to get back to. Um, I'll leave some links down below, but you seriously show your room temperature IQ whenever you dare bring up this kind of concept as your what don't you understand about quote unquote socialism as you idiots see it, which is what the actual Nazis that are being put into power in this fucking country are doing. The kinds of ultranationalist ethnic bullshit that they want is identical in core principles to this particular type of fascism. One added thing that I almost left out, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned is hey there, random named person. And everyone who comments about, oh, socialism's in the name, they're both socialists. If they were both ideologically the same, and I need you to use all your brain cells for this one. If they were ideologically the same, why then did they hate each other? Why, oh, why was there conflict between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union? With the von Ribbentrop agreement being von Ribbentrop, is that, god damn it, is that the guy from Sound of Music? I don't even know anymore. The Ribbentrop agreement, I know that's part of it. The we're not going to attack each other accord that the Germans broke in July of 41. I think it was July 21st of 41. Operation Barbarossa began. Um, why, oh, why was there so much tension between these groups if they were effectively identical? And why then didn't the Soviet Union fight on the Axis side? Why then was it that Germany attacked the Soviet Union and got as far as Stalingrad, damn near Moscow? And the Soviets finally put the push on them enough with wave upon wave of troop attacks. Just desperation missions to actually begin to weaken German forces to a point combined with the glorious fact that nobody prepares for a Russian winter, pushed them back eventually to Berlin itself. Like, I want everyone to remember something. You realize we would not have quote unquote won World War II had the Soviets not been involved. There would not have been the stretching of resources in Germany for a proper invasion of mainland Europe to succeed. We possibly could have still held Britain, but that would have been it. And everything else that the Nazis wanted in Europe proper would have been theirs. The way things were at the end of 40 or by 41 would have been the way they stayed forever. Potentially. It could have been the same to this fucking day. So, I find it really funny when people talk shit about the Soviet Union because you can disagree with how things operated. You can be anti socialist, anything decent all you want, be a staunch fucking capitalist piece of shit. I don't care. But you gotta understand the role they played in that particular conflict and the level of opposition they were to the Nazis. And I'm pretty sure every single Soviet citizen who died defending the world from Nazi scum would resent being compared to them and vice versa. I know every single Nazi would hate you daring to call them some socialist, some commie scum. Okay? Okay. Have we made ourselves clear? I know nearly 1,000 pages is a lot, but if you read what I put in the link down below, you you might just educate yourself. Just enough to understand, as if I haven't made it clear enough, why this is stupid. Random person on YouTube. But hey, thanks for leaving a ridiculous comment and providing me with another video. You kinds of people are the gift that keeps on giving. That's that. I'm out. Actually, I'm going to do a live stream here in a little bit. This video is just going straight up. No members only. You're getting it fresh from, me recording. I'm just rambling now. Everyone have a great day.